Welcome to our podcast. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive on a different book series. Right now, we are shiting on the Wheel of Time, reading through all of the Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan. So, Laura, to start us off, what are you reading, watching, enjoying right now?
I'm still watching Jane the Virgin. Nothing's new there. I've not been binging this series. It's been a slow burn. But
I think it has over 100 episodes, doesn't it? Or no, is it less than 100?
I think it's 5 seasons. I'm in the 4th season, so I'm rounding the corner. But it's a really good show. I really like it. And I mostly am there just for Rogelio. Camille is the best. We've mentioned it several times. I'm one of his biggest fans now. I love him.
So people who have not watched Jane the Virgin and want to hit plus 30, them killing off Michael was one of the most heart-wrenching things I've ever had to watch because I was a huge Michael fan.
And I didn't know what to do there when that happened. Because, they had that fake out, where you thought that he died and you're like, okay, well, he made it through being shot. Well, then he dies and you're like, what? Are you kidding me? He makes it through all of this and we go through all of this back and forth with Raphael and everything. And they make him a very likable character again. And then he dies in a test.
I was never a huge Raphael and Jane fan. I just don't think they match very well.
Sure, I can understand that.
Very different people. And it just I
haven't finished the series, but they're definitely trying to set them up as their soulmates.
Well, and I do think that the series does something where it's it's not advocating for a soulmate forever, it's not
different times in your life, different people fit into your life.
Yes, I do think that it's a healthy way of looking at a soulmate if you're going to have one.
Yeah, sure.
But I was always a Team Michael fan, and
I know, I love him.
I love Michael so much. It's so funny when you meet people because one of my sisters, she was a fan of Dean and Gilmore Girls, and I was like, but why? And I think she
don't agree with that choice.
I think she might be a Raphael fan, and I'm always like, why are you and I so different? And I think there was one other where we were you don't watch Sex and the City.
No.
But she was a huge Aiden fan, and I was like, you mean the guy who fundamentally wanted different things than Carrie? You were voting for that guy? Carrie is not someone who wants children or to get married, and he was the most basic, I want to get married and have babies person. And it's
so the exact opposite of her.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm like, don't vote for that kind of relationship. You're voting, you are strictly voting for someone to change for another person. And I don't buy into those. So I think that was always my problem with Raphael and Jane is Jane was always Raphael, you do all these terrible things. I don't approve. And it's do you really want a relationship where it's just your girlfriend not approving of the way you live your life?
I mean, Raphael doesn't care.
I know. It just bothers me.
They love to set him up as being the one that is always longing for someone too. Because if he's not longing for Jane, he's longing for Petra, or he's longing for a cousin or someone else, and it's just in real life, that guy would not long for anyone.
No, he's married. Of course he's married. He looks like that. Oh my gosh. But that's also
I thought it was so funny. I can't remember what season this was. It might have been the beginning of season 3 when one of Rogelio's friends, he was trying to ask a favor of one of his famous friends, and they asked a favor of him instead and wanted to go on a date with Raphael. And Rogelio was like, what? You don't want to go on a date with me? I'm the telenovela star. And then he realized that, oh my gosh, Raphael is handsome.
Oh my God.
And then Raphael takes off his shirt at one point during the episode, and Rogelio is just shocked. And I thought that was the funniest thing, that he never realized that, oh my gosh, this guy is actually very attractive.
Show. One of the most attractive men ever.
But Rogelio is just very into himself and in his own little bubble that he doesn't even realize this about other people. So it was just very funny. And he is such a great actor that he played it off so well.
This is going to become Laura's fangirl account for her.
This is me talking about Jaime Camille. I'm here for him.
Apparently you are, because every week we have discussed in depth Jane the Virgin, and every week you're just oh, but Rogelio. I'm just here for Rogelio. And it's just it's amazing. I'm very much a fan of this.
He's just so good.
I can't wait for you to get to season 4 season finale, you have to like text me immediately when you watch it, when you finish it. You just have to. I remember because like I watched the last season in real time, and it happened. I screamed at the TV, and
You mean season 5, the last season?
No, season 4, season 4. Finale.
Okay.
I was watching it, and then season 5 hadn't come out yet, so I like didn't get to continue on the journey. It was just like it was actually like experiencing a season finale.
Sure.
And I screamed at the TV, and I texted my sister, and I was like, "How did you not warn me?" And she's like, "I'm pretty sure I did." So it's huge, and I can't wait for you to watch it. Just so you know.
I'm interested. What are you watching right now?
I am. Well, I watched I just saw my dad. I watched half an episode of Killing Eve, and then he was falling asleep. So I turned it off. And we've had a gap, and I forgot like a huge thing happened in the television show that was amazing. But I'm also, my roommate and I have different TV series I just watch with people. Sure. So my roommate and I usually have a TV show that's like the Bird Bone Sweatshirt we talked about last week. We watch Playing House together, and we'll just like sit down and watch 1 or 2 episodes together. And then we're like, no, we're going to leave each other. Like we don't binge shows together. We watch 1 or 2 and it's done. We are watching What We Do in the Shadows, which is hilarious. It's by Taika Waititi. And it's like, it was originally a movie, and they did a review on the Bechdel cast.
Okay.
And the movie has Taika Waititi, and then Jermaine Clement, from
Moana.
Yes, from Moana. He's so shiny.
I love that guy. He's also in Men in Black 3 and
he's in a bunch of other stuff. But they created this movie, and it was about vampires, and it's like it's like one of those mockumentaries about vampires.
Okay.
And
is it similar to like Shaun of the Dead?
I've never seen Shaun of the Dead. But it is
funny.
like satire about and like one of the women is obsessed with becoming a vampire, and she's like their familiar, and she brings over people for them to eat, and then they, like in the movie they just like one, they turn him into a vampire, and she's like, so you can change people into vampires. And so it was a very good movie. And then the show is even better. Like it's so well done, it's so smart. It's on Hulu, but like oh my gosh, it's just so funny. The woman vampire, oh my gosh, she is like the most amazing actress. She's married to a vampire named Laszlo, but she also like has this lover who keeps showing up throughout time and keeps being reborn, but like his head keeps getting cut off. And so she comes and she like her name is Nadia, and she's like obsessed with finding him. And he was like a knight named Gregor, and she like sees him recently and starts following him. And at one point she's like up 3 flights looking at his window as he masturbates. She's like, I just like to watch him. And like she's like creeping behind him, but actually creeping.
That's really creepy.
And then she finds out, she's like, what's your name now, Gregor? And he's like, Jeff. And she's like, Jeff, that's your name. Like she's so funny. Like it is. I'm not explaining it well, but it also has like Beanie Feldstein in it, like, and who is hilarious.
I like her.
And they have a familiar who is like this sweet boy, like named Guillermo, and like at one point one of the main characters, like he always promises to turn him into a vampire, and the whole setup is like they never turn him into a vampire, and he's obsessed with it. He's like, I just keep getting older, but my master will turn me soon, and so
it never happens,
right? And at one point the master is like, Guillermo's just so weak. I don't like saying these things to Guillermo. And then the camera pans over and Guillermo's in the room with him. And
he's right there.
And he's right there. And he goes, I don't like saying things like this about you, Guillermo. So dark and satirical and hilarious. They also have like, there's an energy vampire who just like doesn't drink your blood, but he sucks out like your life force. Like it makes you feel miserable. So he has dark. Like the attitude of like a very bland salesman. And he's like, yeah, you got to be careful on those tax forms because that's how they get you. It's just like, and it always shows him like he takes them to a city council meeting, and he's like, I love going to these. They're so draining on people. Like, he's just sitting in the background as people are like bored out of their minds, and he's sitting there with like the biggest smile on his face.
My gosh.
And it's very good. I cannot recommend that TV series enough.
I'll have to check that out.
Love it. It is so worth it.
As you know, I'm not a big vampire fan, but that sounds like more up my alley where it would be.
This is very up your alley. Like, it's just, oh, God, there's so many funny moments. Like, it is a very, very well done show. And there are only 2 seasons. The 3rd season, I hope, is coming out.
But it's on Hulu?
So, yeah, it has been renewed for a 3rd season, and it is on Hulu because it's on FX.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a mockumentary comedy horror. And like Taika Waititi is blowing up right now. So just so you know, he was like the director of like Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, okay.
And he did Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, yep.
So he is like going great. Yeah, so highly recommend that show. And the movie is very good. It is very like, this one has a little bit more diversity and all that stuff. But
the movie or the TV show?
The TV show. The movie is pretty. I mean, well, I should say that Taika Waititi and Jermaine Clements, they are
of Hawaiian descent.
Yes. Well, they're from New Zealand and they are part of the Maori. Yeah, they are part of the Maori clan. So they are indigenous people, but
sure. Reading anything good lately?
So I am finally about to finish Patsy. It is so good. I'm coming home next weekend for Easter and I will have to bring it to you to borrow because it is amazing. It is a slow burn. I definitely read it. Like, I am crazy busy at work right now. So I definitely didn't read it at the right time. Like, I wish I was less busy and could just sit and enjoy this book, because as it stands, like trying to find time to read the book, like I would read 18 pages and then go to bed. So I do think it's wonderful the way it looks at motherhood. Like, it's definitely on style with like a Toni Morrison book where it looks at like a mother who chooses herself and how that can be traumatic for her because she leaves her daughter behind in Jamaica, and how it can traumatize her daughter. There are definitely like a lot of queer love stories going through it. There's some identity and figuring out what that means for the daughter. There's like her trauma and her growing up and like thinking her mother doesn't love her, and like what shame can do to someone and how it can like change and warp you. And I mean, there are some like trigger warnings for people out there. You can probably look those up, and I will post my review on Bookstagram and like post a couple trigger warnings on it. But it is just an amazing book, and I think everyone should read books like that because it opens your eyes up to new experiences. And like, I think it's easy to, like, this woman does desert her child and doesn't speak to her for like years and years and years because of her own shame. And I think it's easy to look at that book and like judge that person, or it's easy to look at that, like, I think a lot of books would just judge her and like take it from the daughter's perspective, but you're also sitting with the person who did those wrong things and is trying to make her life valuable afterwards. And like, you're just trying to do your best and failing at that, So it was a very good book. I still have like 50 pages left, so I can't wait to come to the conclusion. I'm hoping to finish tonight after I work for a couple more hours, but overall can't recommend that book enough.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then I'm going to move on to some library books that I need to return sooner or later. And hopefully I might put a lighter book in next time because this was a lot, but
yeah, you've been reading some heavy stuff lately.
Yeah. And I just started The Great Hunt. So because we need to discuss that next week.
Really heavy.
Yes, it's just so heavy. It's the gender identity politics in it are just so nuanced.
All the quests.
Oh, quests. What are you reading right now?
So I also read The Great Hunt, but of non-Wheel of Time books, I finished a children's Bible by Lydia Millet. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name. It was a very interesting book. At first, when I was reading it, I was not very into it. And then I got about like 75% of the way through and I was very into it. It's kind of a warning about climate change, that we all need to get our act together. And it centers around this group of children who go out to a summer home with their parents who are pretty neglectful of them, and they don't really rely on their parents for anything. They kind of band together as a group, and then things start happening that mimic some of the events that are happening within a children's Bible that they had come across, and it becomes somewhat of a post-apocalyptic type scenario. Yeah, it is interesting. And yeah, it's a different book. I think people should read it. It's definitely a take on climate change, though, and a warning for people to take climate change seriously. So
you also read a lighthearted novel that you were texting me about, the In 5 Years.
Well, yes, that was the one I was going to bring up next, because I read In 5 Years by Rebecca Searle, and I'm almost done with it. I haven't finished it yet, but it was just kind of fun. It's definitely not the best book I've ever read. I shouldn't say written. Why would I say written? I did not write it. I don't write books. But this...
You should write a book. I mean, I'm writing a book, but sorry.
I can't write this book. But
well, somebody already did it. So yeah,
this
you're
book
right.
that I read was a lot of fun, and definitely not the best book I've ever read, but it's just really lighthearted, and it's a romantic comedy, I guess. But it reminds me of some of the guilty pleasure movies that I like to watch, like How to Be Single or something along those lines, where it's this girl in the city who's trying to figure out what she really wants in her life, in her 5 year down the road plan. And I really liked it. It was kind of nice, after I have also read a couple of heavy books recently.
Right.
So it's nice to mix it up every now and then and read one that's just fun.
I think sometimes you just need that, like,
yeah,
you know, I don't know. I think people are like too judgmental. Like, it always has to be the best book you've ever read, or it's not worth it. Like, no, sometimes
this is definitely not a 5-star book, but I really enjoyed it.
But a 3-star book is sometimes exactly what you want to read.
Exactly, like, right.
That's like, I don't always want to.
It's nothing groundbreaking, but I don't want to watch fun.
Oscar movies all the time, because that would be such a slog. Like, sometimes you have to turn on. We watched, I talked about it last week, we watched Promising Young Woman, and it was like very deep, and we had to pause and like talk about like consent and all the issues that go with it, you know. And then afterwards we got done, and we made some joke about like the Disney movie musical starring Christian Bale, Newsies, because I grew up on that movie.
I love Newsies.
I watched Newsies so much as a child, and we had like a feud with some of our cousins because they stole our VHS of Newsies, and we were like, we know they have it, they need to give it back, because like that was back when you just had, you know, you weren't going to go out and find another copy of Newsies out there, because just not everyone had it. And our friend hadn't seen it yet. And so we immediately turned it on after watching this very deep. Yeah. We watched Newsies, and like my cousin and I were screaming at the top of our lungs. We were just like so excited. And then I was like, he's from the Mighty Ducks. Putting all this context in. And then like, we had this realization that like, I can't think that Christian Bale is a bad singer in that movie. And my cousin is like, no, he's 100% a bad singer, Hannah.
He's not a great singer.
Like, but like, because it's been instilled in me. Like, I've seen this movie since I was 3 years old. Like, I can't think that that's a bad version of that song, even though Jeremy Jordan played him in the musical. I think my entire family went to that musical. That's how much we loved the Newsies. But like, and he's a much better singer, so I should know. I just don't. But like, oh my God, it's such a good movie. It's just the best. I mean,
I've watched that lots of times as well. Maybe not as many as you, because you are definitely
they're the king of New York.
Super fan.
Yeah, I can almost say the whole movie verbatim, you know?
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that movie. But yeah, sometimes you just need like palate cleansers. And that's kind of like, I just read Patsy, and I'm like, oh, I need either a mystery or a romance. Like, just something to kind of get in, get out, and get on with my life. But I definitely emulate.
Well, maybe check out In 5 Years.
I think it's on my like long TBR list on the library, because sometimes I just check books in the library. It's like, yeah, I'll read that eventually. And it's like, no, you won't.
Why lie to yourself?
When are you ever going to get around to this book, Hannah? You have like 300 books there. You read 52 books a year.
Do you make a list of books that you want to read and plan it out? I've seen a lot of people talking about this on Bookstagram, where they are asking if people just kind of pick a book that suits their mood at the time, or if they have a list where they try to stick to their list.
Kind of like both, I guess. Because like I usually post on my Bookstagram, like, these are the books I plan to read this month. But I'm very willing to like, I also like, Chicago lets you have 8 holds at a time, and they let you pause a hold until like a future date, but you like reserved your spot in line. So like, if you come in at 42, you're still like behind the person, you know, like you're locked in to keep moving forward up the line. So when it unpauses, you could be number 1 and get it next. But like, it just, so I usually pause 2 books per month, because like, I don't want to do 8 at a time, because that seems ridiculous. And I just like have a like I usually just pick books that have long wait lists because I'm like, oh, I can just put it on hold and forget about it. And in 5 months, it'll like come to me. So usually I'll get 2 books mid-month. And like, if there's still a crazy long line for these books, I'll read those right away. So I'm like easy about maneuvering my list and making sure it's not concrete, because I think that's healthier. I think when you get locked into like, I'm going to read this book next, like what happens if you get to it and you're just like, I really don't want to read this book. Like I have no gumption. I don't feel like it. It's not that it's a bad book. I just don't feel like it right now. I think you need to like have enough forgiveness of yourself to not be so rigid to force yourself to read it. I'm also someone who reads like only 1 to 2 books at a time. So if I'm going to be reading something and I don't feel like reading it, like I had that problem with Patsy. It was a little bit of a slog, not because it wasn't a good book, but because I was working from like,
you had a lot going on,
9 a.m. to 7:30 at night, and then making myself dinner and working out. Like you don't feel like doing anything when you get done with everything at 9 o'clock at night. So, and then like, if it's a mystery, you're more willing to be like, I'll just read 20 pages. Like it doesn't matter, instead of like, I want to like consume this book. But what about you?
Within the past year, I created a note on my notes app on my phone where I keep track of the books I've been reading each month. And I try to plan it out because I've been trying to be better about reading nonfiction. So I've been trying to add nonfiction into the mix more. But a lot of times, like you said, I will get to a point where I'm just not feeling it. So I'll swap it out for something else that I've been wanting to read. So I'm more flexible with books that I own, because I have a lot of books that I own that I have not read.
Right.
But yeah, I try to be pretty flexible with myself, because sometimes you just don't feel like it.
Yeah, I agree. No, that's both our reading styles. And I don't know. Also, what books did you read as a child? Like in teenage years, what books did you read?
Teenage years?
Yeah. I've been thinking about this a lot because my roommate and I were laughing because I was like, like the Lorraine McDaniel books. And she was like, no, Hannah, I don't know what that is.
I don't know
what
that is.
She was like kind of trauma reads where it was like, this girl gets cancer and falls in love with an Amish boy in the hospital while his sister is being treated for cancer. And then the sister dies, but an angel comes and heals this girl's cancer, but they can't be together because he's Amish. Like those were those. Or like all
Definitely did not read anything about
my
Amish.
family died in a car accident. There was also Beverly Lewis did like random Amish series. I read a lot of those.
I have not read anything.
There was one called
anyone who is Amish.
There was one called The Shunning, where like a girl has to leave the community and like they won't speak to her. And then her boyfriend, who she thought was dead, isn't dead, but he comes back to find her, but he thinks she's dead because she's been shunned. Lots of those books happened in high school. I don't know why. Well, because I went to Catholic school and I was using the Catholic school's library. So or like someone on Bookstagram was like, I used to read Mary Higgins Clark. And I was like, oh my gosh, that brings me back to a very specific 6-month period of freshman year of high school.
You can remember the time exactly.
No, I remembered because I remember like loving them for like 6 months. And then I was like, I don't want to read these anymore. Like, I don't care about this person. So I read books like that. I read a lot of fantasy books in high school that were like low key fantasy. Like I did do a lot of vampire ones, but like different ones, like the Blue Bloods. I also loved A Great and Terrible Beauty series. Oh my gosh. Those are like female empowerment. Like they go into a new, like this distant realm and only one of them can bring them into the realm. But like they bring like, it's girls at a boarding school and like they find their inner strength through this realm. And I loved those books.
Why do so many fantasy series that involve kids have to be boarding school related? I don't understand.
I think that there's a theory on this, and I do buy into it, that like you want to do teenagers, but you don't, and you want them to be like staying out all night. But if they had parents, how bad do those parents have to be to like?
That's true, that they have to have a certain amount of freedom to be able to do things. Yeah,
boarding schools make it easier for them to be like, well, we're roommates. We just have to sneak out of our rooms. Sure. We don't have to like coordinate all of us sneaking out of the house and not telling our parents where we're going to like stay out all night. So I think that's why there's a lot of boarding school. It's the same as like why you have a lot of orphans in novels. Like it removes the parental relationship.
That's fair.
But what books did you read in high school?
That does make sense. I was a huge Harry Potter fan, and I reread those like a million times between junior high and high school, because I'm pretty sure the series finished up when I was in high school. I might have been a freshman or sophomore. But then I was very obsessed with The Fountainhead And I also loved The
This was
Kite
back
Runner
when this was in
by,
high school. Oh yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. I was gonna
yeah.
say Laura loved
No, you're
Ayn
fine. But I also
Rand.
love The Kite Runner.
Yes. Which I need to read soon.
And The Kite Runner is still one of my favorites. So
I read
those were some books I was really into.
I read 1,000 Splendid Suns and I really liked it. I thought that was a very good book.
Oh, that one was good too.
Yeah, his other big series.
I also read The Color Purple in high school and loved that by Alice Walker.
I've never read that. I need to.
You should.
Yeah,
It's
I read the unabridged version of Les Mis in high school for a crap ton of extra credit in French class. Like she was like, I will give you like 300 extra points if you read like an unabridged like Les Mis. And I was like, and I was a nerd, so I was like, I'll do that. I in fact did skip 100 pages because in the unabridged version he explains an entire war for 100 pages. That all you need to know is the war happened. Like that was all I needed to know. So I did skip that because I was like, I'm not doing this. No, thank you. But I read all but 100 pages of that book. And then we had to read the abridged version in English class. And they're like at the beginning of it, he like it's Jean Valjean and he's like traveling across the country.
I've only seen the movie, so.
Well, he like steps on this kid's like money and the kid is like, you have my money, give me my money. And he like can't get his shoe up. So the kid runs away crying. And then years later, they're like, and this is the abridged version. It's like, you're going to be arrested because you stole this kid's 2 coins. And people are like, why is he getting rearrested for stealing? Because he had like just gotten out of jail. And they're like, why is he getting rearrested for stealing 2 coins? And I was like, guys, in the like actual version, he also skipped on bail, like, or on his like when his parole, like he was supposed to like go check in and live in a specific city and be on parole. And he just didn't do that and moved to a new town and changed his name. But this abridged version skipped over this like very important key part of the plot and just said like, no, it's about the coins, guys. It's about the coins. Like,
oh my gosh.
And it always made me laugh. Like, who made that choice? Like,
no kidding.
He didn't do his parole. It's like very important to the plot. Like,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. It was very funny to me, but that's another side note. Sorry for going all the way back there.
Can I tell you something about this movie? So I've only seen the movie. I haven't read the book, but I saw the movie that has Hugh Jackman in it in theaters. And at the end of the movie, the lights came back on in the theater and it was quiet and nobody had really gotten up from their seat yet or anything. And this guy says loudly, "Did anyone else know this was a musical?" And everyone started laughing. Apparently this guy thought this was a war movie.
Oh my gosh. No.
He didn't realize that it was a musical
based on a musical. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
And so it's just like something that I will never forget, that we were sitting in this theater and the lights come on, still quiet, and a guy says, "Did anyone else know this was a musical?"
One of my cousins has this great story where his friend went to a terrible movie that was named Constantine. And he knew it was going to be bad. And he was in high school, so he was an idiot. I will preface it with this. So 15 minutes into the movie, he was doing this as a stunt. He picked up his giant thing of popcorn and goes, "This movie sucks," and threw the popcorn at the screen.
Also, what a weird stand to take, because that means nothing.
And so he got kicked out because he was throwing popcorn. And like they brought the manager out. They're like, "We had to throw him out because like he was making a ruckus or whatever." And the manager was like, "What happened?" And the kid explained, like, "I threw popcorn at the movie Constantine because it sucked." And he was like, "You can't do that, but I agree with you, so I will give you a refund." He refunded the tickets.
The manager's really chill, apparently.
Right? I agree. It was a bad movie, so I'm gonna let you do that. I also once had to leave Flicka, starring Tim McGraw, with my friend because we were laughing so hard when the horse was about to die.
Oh, well, that's a tragic part to laugh at.
Well, and that was the problem. We were like, no, we were in high school and it was a movie theater full of like 6th grade girls. And like the horse is really sick and like it's supposed to be very sad. but like the dad's about to like go maybe put the horse down, and like the daughter's also sick with a fever because she was like out late on a rainy night with the horse or whatever, you know.
Okay.
And there's a moment where he's about to reach for the door, and you hear her voice behind him, and she goes, "Are you gonna kill us, Dad?" And he turns, and she's just like standing there on the stairs in a full out fever. And my friend and I just started laughing because the ridiculousness of this scene and like how it was supposed to be this very sad pivotal moment, and if he's gonna go murder her horse. And we just started laughing uncontrollably and like all these little girls are crying around us because they're in 6th grade and this is a harrowing moment. So we had to leave the theater and we did not go back in. We just watched the rest of it from the back of the theater.
At Tim McGraw's acting because he's in a lot of movies, and I just don't understand why he keeps getting movies, besides I guess that he's rich, but he's not the greatest actor.
He was very good as a drunk man in Friday Night Lights.
I did not see that.
He was just a drunk man in Friday Night Lights, but
okay.
He was a drunk dad. All right, should we get into our final talk about Eye of the World?
Yep, let's do it.
Coming to a close with this book. I mean, we've discussed everything ad nauseum. I think like it's an interesting book on the way it uses magic, like we've said.
Sure, it's very different, and there seem to be different strength levels for people accessing power as well. Well, because it's mentioned that Nynaeve is more powerful than Egwene, and Moraine is more powerful than other Aes Sedai. Rand is obviously more powerful than other male channelers. So there's got to be some sort of level that people are able to channel to a higher degree or lesser degree than others.
It is a weird thing with like a lot of magic books, and I saw this in like Spellmaker, whatever, like that duology I just read, where a lot of times like power and magic equals like status for a weird thing. Like I don't understand that all the time, where it's like, oh, we found out you have all this magic, so even though you're a shepherd boy, now you're very important, and now you're thrust into like this important member of society, you know. And that's interesting sometimes, like with these books. I don't know why they kind of make that like, you could say it's like randomly like linked to money almost. Like it's a weird thing where like power equals status, and I don't always like that because it feels kind of like low-key capitalistic in my mind.
I mean, fair.
But I do like what they're doing with all the different powers. I'm trying to think through that. And then that's like everyone's like bigotry of different types of magic, you know, like
sure,
Aes Sedai distrust old magic distrust Aes Sedai, regular people distrust everything, you know. There is this weird thing where like magic does equal status, but like, and I guess that is like capitalistic too, where like the people without any don't like the people with, you know. Like,
sure, they have a reason to be fearful of them and everything as well, and not trust them because they have had bad experiences with that in the past.
Well, and they have this level of control over them.
Right. They can hurt them or take things away from them due to their power.
So sometimes with like magical novels, I do feel a little bit like it's Loki trying to convince us that like, no, rich people are good people. Like it's like
not always.
Not always. Like that's hardly ever the case. Like I do understand that this is probably a very overarching thesis of something that like I've slowly started thinking about, like the Spellbreaker books I was reading. It started off as this like she's working undercover to like disenfranchise the powerful, and I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then you find out that it's not that, and they never question the powerful again. And I was like, no, wait, go back to where you were like questioning the powerful, because I liked that questioning. Like I think we should always question and learn. And I get that this is a 14-book fantasy series written by a man in the 80s and 90s. So if I'm hoping that he is anti-capitalist, I'm maybe barking up the wrong tree. Good luck. Yeah, I don't think he's going to satisfy that. Like scratch.
I think you need to read another book.
You know, yeah, I know. But I guess that's why we're discussing like after we finish this book series in a year, we'll try to look at more modern day fantasy. Yeah. But I do get frustrated with a lot of magical novels when they're like, well, it's not money. And it's like, yeah, but it still feels like money, you know, like it just.
No, I think that's a pretty accurate take.
And like we were saying last week with like the women, I think he's like trying to create a strong woman, but he's also creating it through the lens of a white man in the 80s and 90s.
Right.
So it's going to be lacking. But
as far as their power, how do you explain what they can do? Because now that we were just thinking about it and talking about them channeling, they can do so many things, but it just seems to be like a feeling that they get, you know?
Yeah, it is like there are no rules, I guess. Like I
Right.
get,
And it's so linked to emotions and everything. Whereas other series, you know, they have to have this talisman or this ring or this whatever to do this, or they have to have a wand or say this thing or mix these things together, you know, to get some kind of powers to have them. But it's a little
well,
bit harder to explain with this series.
and Moraine has like a little talisman where she's like, I could do it without the talisman. This just helps me. This was like a training tool I used early on.
Sure.
So it helps me when I need it. So I do think they can like channel through things, but I always look at it as more like it's one of those things where it's like, well, the power is all around us. So we can always like reach it. We just have to learn how to be able to see, touch, and feel it. You know, like it's almost like you have to learn how to sense it. Yeah. It's like a very Zen, but there are very few, like, I don't know how the Aes Sedai, like, quote unquote, train, you know, because like, oh yeah, Egwene was working on like making a flame, but then Moraine was like, it's really dangerous to do that without like proper, like, someone watching over you because you can channel too much and you don't have control over it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
that's what I don't understand. Where they're talking about channeling the power and all this, and is there a certain way that you're supposed to feel? There's a certain thing you're supposed to do. You know what I mean? That's something that I want to know more about.
I always feel like when you're channeling, you're opening yourself up to like this very strong sense of power, and you're the one who's trying to like push it into the natural world.
Okay.
And it can overpower you and like push too much, and it's taking from you as you're like pushing it into that natural world because you're using your energy to like bring it forth.
Okay.
And so there's a chance if you do not understand how to like make yourself like the proper bridge or the proper channel into this full world, it could take over you and drain you as it comes out, and you can't keep a hold on it. It gets a hold of you.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. The other thing, have you questioned this at all? Which this may just be because only the men can channel is it Saidar or
Saidar, yeah, I think,
or one of them can channel Saidar and one of them can channel Saidin. I can't remember which is which. Look that up real quick. And
don't tell me what to do.
You're already typing. Typing what I'm saying.
Call it Sidon because it looks like Sidon, but
I think it's Sidene.
Yeah, why make it Sidene when it's spelled with an I? That makes absolutely no sense. I refuse. No, thank you. Wap Bamaluma.
So who can channel
the male
as Saidar?
Sidene.
Sidene is the men. Okay. And then the women can channel Saidar. So this may just be because women only can channel the Saidar, but I was questioning why none of them can help the male channelers. There's nothing they can do to help them with this at all, but I guess maybe it's just because they're two separate branches of this true source of power that they don't.
That's like Moraine said to.
It just seems weird to me that they kind of, the only option they have with a lot of these male channelers like Logain is just to gentle them. It's they can't do anything to help them.
Well, like
understand how to use the power without going crazy, you know?
Well, Maureen kind of touched on this. She told Rand, like, I can't touch Saidar, so I don't know how it feels. It's different. Like, it's just a completely different power. So I could try to tell you, but it's almost like, you know, if you're a metal worker, you're not going to know how to, like, you know, I can't think of an opposite of metal worker, but you're not gonna you're not a plumber. Rubber. Like, you know, like you're not like a good plumber just because you're a metal worker. You know, you might not know how to make the pipes, but you don't know how to, you know.
That's fair. I just feel like with a lot of the times that they would mention that, I kind of felt like they could have done something, or you would hope they would have tried something rather than just, I don't understand it.
I think it's just the whole, like, I mean, they are relying a lot on, like, well, Sidene
and a lot of it is
was
just
corrupted and no one can use it, and that's all. And
I think that's what I was going to mention, is that a lot of it's just set up that only women can channel Saidar, and then the Saidin is tainted. So
right.
Don't touch it.
I mean, it's one of those things where we're going to be talking about the series for a long time. I'm sure we're going to see like a lot of plot holes where it's just like,
yeah,
but why? And that's like, it also described it once as yin and yang. And I'm like, but a big part of yin and yang, sorry. Yin and yang is like each piece still has a part of the other in it.
Yeah.
It's about like balance in
that.
You'd
think there'd be some form of understanding. And as far as we can tell with this, there's going to be very little balance because Rand is going to be allowed to channel, and it's going to be one man and all these women. Yeah. That's not balanced.
Well, I'm sure if he
one extremely powerful man to control all of the male magic.
Wait, can I ask you?
We'll have all these women over here to do this, but they're not going to be near as important as this dude.
I ask you a very.
But women are equal.
Can I ask you a very important question?
Go for it.
Do you think at the end of this 14-book series that like Rand's not going to fix the Saidin and he's just going to be the only one who can use it non-corrupted?
Yes, this is how I feel.
I don't think that's supposed to be what happens, Laura.
I am really thinking that that's going to happen, that this is just going to be the Rand show.
Well, I mean, it's going to be a Rand show as like he fixes everything, but I think he's going to have to like cleanse Saidin and like make it not uncorrupted. That
he is going to be the only male channeler
ever. It's just Rand.
At least in these 14 books, he is going to be the only male channeler.
He is the only one you're going to like meet and spend a long time with. Like, I do think he's the main character, but I think at the end of it,
to Google it right now because
do not Google. No spoilers here, but I do think he's going to like cleanse it, and then other channelers are going to be able to exist in the world again.
We won't know about them though. We're not going to learn about them.
We're not going to learn about them, but like they will exist. I mean, like the way you're arguing it, you're saying like no other will ever exist in the world. They'll keep gentling them.
No, I'm saying in the books that we're going to read, I highly doubt that we will come across any other male channelers.
I think we're gonna meet Logan, yeah. So that's my guess.
I've read the second book. We do meet Logan.
Oh, I read the second book. I just forgot. So maybe it's just my memory talking.
I was gonna say that's a bad prediction. And I also have another one that I want to call you out on because you said this other prediction in previous episode, and after reading the second book, I was like, what the heck? She already knew this because she read the second book.
I wondered if I already knew it in that one too, but I always had that prediction. I will defend that prediction by saying I always had that prediction. There was never a moment where I didn't think, oh, okay, he'll be back. Because I mean,
this prediction is that we'll just say it because we keep talking about it. But Hannah predicted that Tom Maryland would come back. She said it. She was like, Tom Maryland's good. I think he's going to be back. And as we were recording the episode, I had not read any of book 2 yet, and so I was like, oh, okay, that's an interesting take,
No, but there was a reason. Like Maureen said it specifically a couple of times that she didn't think Tom was dead either. So even if I completely forgot this book that I read a little over a year ago, like,
but it's still a fair prediction. But then I was like, wait a minute. I got to the point in the second book, and I was like, wait a minute. She already read the second book. That's not a good prediction,
guys. I feel very judged, and
I
feel
farther out.
Predict farther.
I'm predicting towards the end of this series that the only important male channeler we're ever going to learn about is Rand.
Well, we learned about Logain.
Important one that's going to be allowed to channel. Logain's gentled.
Okay, yes. I don't think we're going to be like learning about other male channelers, but at the end of this, I think they will exist again.
I'm doubtful.
You're very doubtful. I'm not doubtful.
I'm doubtful.
I do think that will happen. I think Rand will cleanse the entire, people of Saidin, which is still a stupid way to pronounce it in my opinion. And he will, I think he and Egwene will obviously not be together because that's what the book always says. I wonder if Egwene dies, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. I know a couple of things because like our friend who has read these books before has done a couple of rants. So I will refrain from like anything that she has ranted about. Yeah, nothing like big where it was like, oh, this is life changing, but like, oh, people were frustrated in the last couple of books because like X, Y, and Z. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know, I do think Nynaeve and Lan will get together. I do wonder if there's going to be I wonder if there's going to be a forbidden romance aspect to it.
I think so. I think it's going to be one of those situations where it's a forbidden love, and
right.
they somehow have to find their way to each other, where he's going to end up either being her warder or something like that.
Do you think he ever takes his kingdom back?
I thought about that, and I want to say that he probably does.
Yeah, I want to say he does too.
Because why else would they mention it, you know?
Right. Yeah, it just seems very strange to mention it.
If he doesn't, there's no point in mentioning it. It does nothing for the plot, you know what I mean? Other than he's so self-sacrificing. But
I think Rand may end up back in Emond's Field just because he wants to be there so badly.
That could happen. I more foresee him becoming the king, because I think him and Elaine are going to end up together, king and queen, and they're going to be some weird couple, and she's going to be drooling all over him all the time.
Drooling. Look, guys,
she has
fast forward to next week. Laura has lots of thoughts. I've already heard a lot of them.
I did not love Elaine.
But I don't think he's going to be king, honestly. Like, I just don't see that.
He doesn't want it. It's going to be one of those situations where it's like, oh, I'm in this relationship with this queen who loves me, and I'm the king, and I'm really not wanting to be here.
I feel like lots of men who write series like this love then I returned home to grow old knowing what I've done, but never sharing it with the people around me. You know, I think that they love a sad boy.
I mean, if he could do a Lord of the Rings take where he just leaves.
Yeah.
And doesn't maybe not even go back to Emond's Field, because like Frodo.
I think Matt's going to screw up a couple more times.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Definitely. He's so annoying.
Not a fan.
Perrin will continue to be great because it feels like he is just a very unassuming character.
Perrin has a lot of room for really cool storylines to happen. Yeah. Really.
He's going to become a werewolf and Laura will hate him. I'm joking. I don't think
that's going to happen. It's not a werewolf thing.
I don't think he'll be a werewolf.
The telepathic thing is cool right now.
Yeah, that is cool. I think Maureen has a lot of secrets that'll slowly come out, and I think people will keep thinking she just has such an energy of people will keep thinking oh my gosh, we just learned we can't trust her, and then it's oh no, we could trust her all along. This was all just part of her plan. And
yeah, there'll be a lot of back and forth with her.
Yeah, but I think she'll remain consistently a good person. So I do think there's bad Aes Sedai are going to be coming out of the woodwork left and right. And then there's going to be a huge fight. There's going to be huge battles, you know.
A lot of traveling. There's going to be a lot of quests, and cue all the montages in the TV series of them riding horses everywhere in mountainsides.
Rand is going to be an Aielman, called it.
Yeah, an Aielman. Yeah.
He maybe I'm guessing one who was supposed to be in power if he was born and grew up there.
Yeah,
that's
some
my
lost
guess.
Prince.
That's going to be key.
Tam is probably a former soldier, somebody who was really important in former battles.
Yes.
And that did a lot of really cool stuff that he just kind of kept hidden.
Like Rand will do at the end of this book, and history will become a wheel, and the wheel will now be
the wheel of time.
Yes, exactly.
Turns, and
they
the
will
pattern
have
weaves as it will.
They will have similar storylines. Those are all.
Do you think we'll discover any of Rand's biological family?
Yes.
I also think that.
I think you're gonna meet them, and we know that they're definitely his family, and then
he's not gonna know for a while.
He's not gonna know for 2 more books. That's my guess, because that's how it works.
Or he'll find out somehow. Somebody will clue him in, and then he'll deny it for a whole book.
Right. Exactly. No. Tam was my father. Tam is my father. You know.
I am not an Aielman.
I am not an Aielman, but you
I look exactly like all of them, but I am not one of them.
I shared on our Instagram, guys. There was a great one where it was everyone else, and it was this short person, and then it's Rand, and they were 3 feet of difference. And I put up Laura's quote of, "Is Rand hot or is Rand just tall?"
Well, that was you, or Thomas Andromedon. But
oh yeah, that was me. Yeah, I think Elaine will continue to be very much in love with Rand.
I will not. I will never like Elaine. Probably.
I don't think I'll like Elaine either.
Next
I think her
year,
family.
I think I will still have the same stance on Elaine.
I mean, hot take. I think her family is gonna some of them are gonna be bad, some of them are gonna be good. One of the ones we thought
her
were
brothers
good is gonna be bad. Yeah, her brothers. Okay. I think that And like her mom,
Yeah, her mom is possibly shifty.
Yeah. Well, her mom's Aes Sedai is super shifty and all that stuff. I think Lan and Nynaeve will have lots of babies at the end, like in an epilogue. It's like, oh, they've got like 3 little children running around, named Perrin, Egwene, and Rand, because no one likes Matt. Like,
they won't name him Matt.
Yeah, they're not gonna name him after Matt. Like, no, thank you.
Perrin, Egwene, and Egwene too, because she loves Egwene so much.
Oh God. Yeah, I could also see
they are probably the ones that go back to Emond's Field, if anybody.
No, I don't see them going back to Edmund's Field though. I really see Rand going back to Emond's Field. I really, that's not my hot take. I think Matt might, I don't know. I feel like Matt, they're just going to forget where they put him at the end. That's a joke, but I know they'll do something with him, but I could not care less what they do to him.
I know that Matt is a very popular character amongst the community and the fandom, and I don't understand yet. So he's really got to have some
growth,
a really big redemption arc, because he's ruined himself just in 2 books for me.
I have some predictions from our good friend Veronica.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, she first put "the world will burn." Just kidding. And at the end, she also says her Grammarly extension says that her writing sounds formal and sad.
Well,
so thank you for those. She said she thinks Rand and Elaine bone. It's bad for Elaine, but she pretends it's good because Rand was tall and therefore has a fragile ego.
I thought it was just stopping it.
No, Veronica, you were wrong. Elaine loves Rand too much for it to ever be bad.
I was gonna say she'll love it.
She'll love it. Yeah. She says Maureen switches loyalties. I don't think that happens. I disagree with you. And maybe pushes Rand too hard into being the dragon and is ostracized by her sect of Sedidum. I
could see that happening.
I could see her being ostracized from her sect. I also think she'll probably have to I think she will run into trouble with the Aes Sedai. It seems like there's going to be a huge amount of issues, and it sounds like they're going to have a reckoning.
Yeah, I agree that something like that is going to be happening, because there's all these different opinions and really political views amongst them.
Right. Some of these, Veronica, I'm going to call you out and say that they are fake, because she also predicts that Egwene starts banging Perrin, but he's way into wolves and realizes they should date. So she becomes an emperor of all, since boys tend to suck and waste time. I do see Egwene becoming a very powerful Aes Sedai and giving up on everything, because that's just her brand. She says Tom is old buddies with Rand's papa. I feel like Rand's papa is dead. Not Tam. Maybe Tam. I mean, if you mean his
biological father.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's biological father. I don't know. I didn't ask. I'm just.
That'd be interesting that he tracked him down because he knew.
I feel like he won't
biological family.
I feel like
I don't see that either.
Aiel men are supposed to be out in the middle of nowhere hiding with no weapons.
They're desert people.
Yeah. She says the queen is murdered by her Aes Sedai, but some guy is framed for it. I could see the queen being murdered for Aes Sedai, but I actually think it'll happen at the beginning of the huge schism. And then it's just that power of the Aes Sedai are trying to take over. She says Matt goes full Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the dagger possession. I think the dagger possession will always be there in some way.
Yeah, I don't see him getting separated from that situation at all.
She also predicts that Lan and Nynaeve both die. I think if one dies, the other doesn't die. They have to be sad for the rest of the world the time.
Yeah, there's got to be a period of longing.
Then she says Moraine disappears. I think Moraine will disappear. I think when the whole schism happens, she'll go into hiding or something.
Oh, you mean just at some point?
Yeah, I don't think forever. Okay. If she's saying forever, no, thank you. But
I can see at some point there being a period where we don't see Moraine very much.
I feel like Egwene will never bone anyone in this book, ever.
I see her settling down just because the way that this book is written, there's not going to be really very many single women the way at least of the main characters.
I just don't see Egwene.
Moraine will probably be the only single woman out of these characters, these main characters that we've been introduced to, is my prediction. I'm guessing everyone else will have a love interest.
My problem is I'm reading this book in 2020 and I'm forgetting I was in the 90s. So you are likely right. And I get that. And I get that. But that's
I'm almost even predicting that Nynaeve and Egwene will both get married.
Oh, that sucks. I do think my niece will be married, but I understand why you're saying it. Yeah. I get it, but
I'm not saying that I love it. I'm just saying I think that's what's going to happen.
That's so frustrating. I don't know. This book is going to be like all 14 of these books will be a long, long journey. Also, how much time do you think passes in all 14 books? Like, how much time do you think passed in Eye of the World? Like, it had to have been months.
A year?
Yeah. I feel like time is like slower. Maybe time slows down in these books. I don't know.
That's kind of a fantasy series thing, though, where it seems like everything is outside of time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, these people, they like have starring in the show. They're going to age. Like they're, it's interesting.
They might have to do some recasting.
I doubt they'll recast. I think they'll just like keep going and just
maybe they'll just try to shoot it all really quick.
Yeah. My guess is they're just gonna like try to shoot it really quickly because I mean it's
we're out of red hair dye. Hurry! We gotta get these last few seasons in.
I was recently listening to something where they were like, oh, I want like more redheaded like superheroes. That would be interesting, and I was like, no, they just dye a brunette's hair red.
They won't get actual redhead.
They won't actually get redheads, guys. Come on, don't be stupid.
What was the reasoning that they wanted to see more redheaded superheroes?
Well, they were just discussing like how like the MCU is getting more diverse and they're like introducing new characters and like, we're going to have with the Eternals, like the first Camille Nanjiani, the first Muslim superhero, and like they're all becoming more diverse, and they're like, oh yeah, like we don't need to see another brunette man like become a superhero. And they're like, I would accept a redhead. Like they don't have redheads yet. And I was just like, they would never use a redhead. They would just take a brunette and dye his hair red. Everyone needs to understand that this is how they do these things. They never cast an actual redhead. And if they do, it's one of the kids from Desperate Housewives.
Or Riverdale.
Yes.
I'm sure everyone has seen the picture of Kumail Nanjiani with after his transformation.
Yes.
Well, did you see how he posted that thing on Instagram where that picture was put on Pornhub?
Yes. That's amazing. And he was like so excited about it. He also, I love like
that made me laugh so much.
After he did his transformation, he went on a bunch of podcasts and they were like, so do you think being this hot has made you less funny? And he was like, I'm like 30% less funny, but like I'll take the trade-off. Like I will be 30% less funny to look like this for the rest of my life.
He's not 30% less funny. He is still funny. I watched his movie, The Lovebirds, I think it is, on Netflix. I watched that with my husband. We both really liked that. That was a good one.
Oh, he's so funny. I like him. Except lots of scandals coming out of the crew from Silicon Valley. Yeah. Some of the people were not great on that show. And if you want to know who's ready to have receipts, Alison Wonderland is not sticking up for any of them. She was on the show with them. It's like one of the boys that came out, like he was like groping women in a nightclub.
Oh gosh.
And she like went on record being like, I warned him. Like it's just like she's so open and honest about like, I warned them that this is a toxic environment and they do not treat people well.
Wow.
And they didn't listen. And it's just like, well, good for you for like showing you tried to make them do better. But yeah.
How is Camille related to this?
I think he was on Silicon Valley.
Was he?
Yeah, he was on Silicon Valley.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he was named Dinesh. And he was on for 5 years.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I did not know that.
I believe he was on for 5 years, but that's how long Silicon Valley was on. Wow. Yeah, for 53 episodes.
Wow.
But I like that you just thought I was randomly bringing up.
Well, I didn't know what was going on.
No, but like Thomas Middleditch.
I didn't realize he was on that.
It just came out with like a huge thing, like Thomas Middleditch is not a great person. And then TJ Miller was also not a great person. And they're the first two names listed as the characters on the
As cast. In Middleditch and Schwartz, like Ben Schwartz. Is that who probably. That guy is?
I don't know.
I think they're a comedy duo, or they used to be.
Yes. That's sad. I like Ben Schwartz.
Hopefully he's still.
Let's hope.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. In March 2021, Schwartz removed all advertisements of the special after it was revealed by the LA Times that Middleditch had allegedly sexually harassed women at Cloak and Dagger, a Los Angeles-based goth club. So, yes. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, I don't know. I just knew that they were a comedy duo.
Yeah. Well, but yeah. Do you have any more predictions?
Pat on Fane is sticking around.
He's sticking around, guys. I could see, I mean, when I know apparently Tom comes back in the next novel, I legitimately forgot that, by the way. I did wonder, but like I was like, no, why would I like say that if I've already read it? I just want to be so smart, guys.
Memories are so
I could see like
to predictions.
I think either like Tom or Matt is gonna do something where they like think they're helping and they hurt the cause horribly.
I feel like Matt's gonna do that several times.
Yeah. I think Perrin is gonna be fine. Like I don't have anything for Perrin. He's just gonna be
it'd probably be a character we like throughout.
Yeah.
Do you think Elias is or Elias is it Elias or Elias?
I think we said Elias because we liked it better.
Okay, Elias. Do you think that he'll be returning at some point?
Hope so. I think it would be a good move on their part to have him return.
I agree. I think it would be interesting, especially because he has kind of an interesting backstory of being a warder.
Right.
But it would be cool to kind of learn more about him.
I agree.
What about Min? What do you think about her?
I think she's always just gonna come in, predict the future, and pop back out.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get like huge.
She's gonna marry Perrin.
No, that won't happen.
I know.
Perrin's gonna be with some rando.
Yeah,
that we don't know about yet.
He's gonna arrive in the epilogue with a woman, and they're like, "Oh, look, it's Perrin and the wife he loves."
Yeah,
who never gets a name.
It'll be something where just like randomly, like,
it's
who's that woman?
Perrin.
Like, oh, it's Perrin's.
It's of Perrin.
Where'd she come from?
Yeah, that's definitely. He has all the shades of best friend character who just gets thrown with a woman at the end.
Yeah,
a la Samwise Gamgee. Like, oh, he's just married now. Okay, cool.
Come back to the Hobbiton, and you're like, oh, he's always loved her. Wait, he has?
I could see like Tom dying at the end or something weird like that.
Some kind of self-sacrifice type situation.
Yes, I could see definitely a self-sacrifice.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the power struggle between men and women is going to change?
I think
I shouldn't say it's a power struggle, but
I think Rand's gonna like cleanse everything, and so men can channel effectively again, and peace will come to the world, and he will overcome, Shaitan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think it's going to keep being a cycle though, because they keep mentioning that how the world is so cyclic and everything, so it may just be of this time that he is able to defeat, and then they come back,
but there has to be another. But there was peace for hundreds of years, so
that's true.
I mean, I'm sure that there is a terrible corner of fanfic.net that has lots of 300 years into the future. The dragon is reborn again. The dragon reborn.
Sandworms, dunes.
Talk about a book series we will never do.
A woman named Jessica.
Named Jessica. Oh, God. Jessica, what was the main character's name?
I don't know.
Oh God, Dune is the most random book, guys. I understand it was definitely like life-changing for its time, and I did read the entire novel, and it was interesting. And
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, looking back, I kind of liked it.
Yes, this is it. Okay, so you have all these like very interesting names like Duke Leto and Alia and Thufir and Gertie and then Duncan Idaho. And then
Idaho.
And then you have the two main characters. I will rant about this book to my dying day. Jessica and Paul. Those are the two main characters with like Wellington, Wellington and Peter.
Paul and Treaties, that's right?
Paul and Jessica.
I just remember reading this and I'm like, okay, everybody has a cool name. Like, there's a guy named Gurney Halleck, and then there's Jessica.
Princess Irulin. Like it's just like Jessica and Paul hanging out, like Even if you guys love this book and you come at me for Dune, I understand, but please defend Paul and Jessica.
So, guys,
with that list
I'm
of
saying
names.
right now, I like Dune, and Paul and Jessica, come on.
Keep it all in. Oh God.
Paul and Jessica.
We have had so many conversations about those names, guys. We read Dune together, and in
Last
retrospect, I do not dislike that book. Like, I gave it 3.5 stars. It was fine as a book.
I definitely think it is a world building book and definitely a stepping stone for science fiction for sure. And again, looking back, I'm gonna say I liked it.
Yeah, but like, okay, so spoilers for Dune. If you keep reading it, Paul turns into one of those worms. Rob Lowe's autobiography, guys. I have not read his autobiography, but my roommate has told me extensively about this. He was actually supposed to be in that movie Dune that was like came out way back when. And they were really gunning for him, and they were like expecting it to be this huge fantasy series that like started and kept going. And he was like, so yeah, I looked into it, but then like, I don't know, I become a worm. I'm just like, you guys can't do this. And so he turned it down because he didn't want to play Paul, guys. You
can't do this.
You can't do this, guys.
Oh.
Paul.
Can I also mention real quickly on Dune that it probably has the most shout outs in other novels and movies and TV of any book I have ever heard of. Do you know how many other books people will say, oh, you know, characters will say to each other, what's your favorite book? Dune.
Yeah.
Or on TV shows, you'll see people reading Dune, or you'll see it in the background, or people will talk about how that's their favorite book. It gets so many shout outs.
I mean, it is like one of the like landmark first science fiction books of its time. And it was, you know, huge, and it was different and weird and amazing. And I do understand all of that aside from its choice of names. So like, yeah, I think it's used in media as like a litmus test for you understand what is cool. Apparently you and I are not members of that club because
I understand what is cool. Paul and Jessica.
Hanging out with Duncan Idaho.
Duncan Idaho.
I remember every time I read that, like I immediately thought of potatoes. Like,
I was just gonna say it makes me
like
think of potatoes. Like it's a brand of potato.
Yeah, like it has to be. Like I want my Duncan Idaho. Yeah, I want Duncan Idaho potatoes. Yeah. So just so you guys know our thoughts on that.
Per bag.
I'm sure Laura will cut out most of our dry laughing at that, but we laughed so hard I cried. So
everyone go read Dune.
Everyone
see
go
you
read
next
Dune.
year.
I would do the first book of the Dune series. I don't want to read all.
I might read another one. I don't know.
I mean, I guess there were only 5 sequels.
I gotta be in the mood.
Yeah, there were only 5 sequels, but like, dude, also look at the like, if you ever want to, God Emperor of Dune is just a giant sandworm with a really weird face that kind of looks like Jabba the Hutt from Star Wars. But
some of the editions of Dune that I've seen on Bookstagram are gorgeous, though, and I want one of those.
No, I do agree. And I don't think I don't like Dune, but I just didn't love it as much as I think other people
sure
loved it. But I'm excited to see the movie. It looks interesting.
Oh yeah, that looks good.
Okay, well I mean, I don't really have anything left to talk about with like this first book. I like it overall. Thought it was a good book. Can't wait to read the
I really
next
liked it. But also Lord of the Rings is probably one of my favorite book series. If actually, I'm gonna say it's my favorite book series. And the first book of Eye of the World, the first book Eye of the World seemed very similar to the Lord of the Rings series. So I really liked that, and looking forward to the rest of the series. I think that it probably will be a series that I enjoy.
Yeah, I would agree.
I'm just taking a very critical lens, guys.
Well, you guys, we can't talk about these books in depth four times in a month and not be critical. So if someone's coming at us like, we have so many critiques, it's like, yeah, we like this book, but also you can't just talk about how much you like a book. Like I liked it more than you. Like that's not a good discussion. So
yeah, it's boring for us to like everything.
I guess Dune is only 8 books, but I just don't make me do that. But yeah, so next week,
Bridgerton next.
I mean, all right.
You jumped on board so quick.
And I'm not like anti-reading any books, despite having like a contrarian belief about Dune and the wonderful world of Paul.
I feel like that would be so much more interesting than Bridgerton.
I don't know. There's a lot to talk about.
Oh.
Yeah. So next week, guys, we will be discussing The Great Hunt, which is just such a very weird phrase. And we will be discussing the plot of it. It might be a little bit longer of an episode compared to what we usually do. Who knows? But make sure to email us or post on our account, what books you guys like to read in high school. If you like Dune, how you liked the book. If there's anything you'd like to add to this discussion, we are happy to read that out. Also remember to please rate, review, and subscribe. We can be found on all the platforms, and follow us at Our Pod. That's OWWR Pod on Instagram and Twitter. You can also email us at ourpod@gmail.com. And we're just excited to be here and excited to be moving on to the next book. So we will see you next week.
Dune's the best. Bye.
Bye.